What is happening, budget builders, and welcome back to the channel. We have one that's kind of new for us, a Mopar, a 1976 Chrysler Town and Country. Now, this isn't the Town and Country that you're used to. This is a station wagon that is powered by a 440 big block. This thing has been off the road since 1991, and in today's video, we're gonna drag this thing out of here. We're going to rescue it, and we're going to attempt to get it running. This thing is awesome. It is such a boat. Kind of made a mistake and did not bring an air compressor with us, and this is an estate that is being cleaned out, and sadly we don't have one. Every single tire, well, I don't know. I doubt those would take air anyways, but man, this car is awesome. Those huge skirts, and this one does have that third row seat. What's fun, now this door doesn't open. That was the only door that opened. Oh boy, okay. Do you see these tow mirrors and the hitch on this thing? And it's a 2 5/16. What were they doing with this thing? Got one of them open. Wow.
I don't want to... Oh, good. Now you scared me.
Who?
Lizard.
I could have done that.
I know. Why not get the old guys?
You might as well, right? Those are rolling. Oh yeah.
Are they all rolling?
Yeah. Man, what a hoopty. Literally the entire way home, all we smelled was bad gas, and that's because we were trying to load this thing. It was such a monster. We punctured that tank, but I don't think that tank was going to do us any good anyways. We got back, and of course not a single one of these took air, so that wouldn't have helped us anyways. But what would have helped was we've got an extra set of wheels. They're actually forward wheels, but they'll fit right on this. We definitely should have brought those with us. So when taking the rear off, pull that little guy, and fender skirt pops right off. Man, this thing looks good without a fender skirt, don't it? That is a fender skirt only car. Man, look how wide this thing is. Look how it's
got hips.
Woof. Came off the trailer pretty easy, and now it's time to see if we can get this big, beautiful beast to run. We know it sat for a long time, since 1991. A fairly damp environment. This thing sat really low, so I'm a little concerned. But I think to get started, let's open it up. Let's get all these spark plugs pulled. Ooh, my. Hey, Roachy, he lives in the motor. He just went down in the intake. Little Roachy, I guess that's little roach turds. And he just went down in there. We're going to make him disappear. Oil. Not bad. Yeah, maybe a little sludgy, but not terrible. And I don't see signs of moisture. You know, our big telltale on the condition of how the cylinders are going to be is once we start pulling those spark plugs. Sheesh. And there we see that big old thermoquad. I have no idea. I've never messed with thermoquad. I've heard they're exceptionally good carburetors. Before we start moving stuff around, there is so much trash under this hood. We need to clean it up a little bit, and I need to take little Roachy's home away. And hopefully little Roachy. Come here, boy. Roach boy, you got to get out of there. Or maybe it's a girl. Nasty. Nasty, nasty. Thankfully, there are those lower throttle plates, but we need to go ahead and just pull this carburetor off of here because we don't want a chance of any of that crap going down in the intake. Well, we already know what came out of that gas tank. This car's gonna have to have a complete fuel system overhaul. No doubt in my mind. Doesn't hurt to pull the carburetor off. I wasn't planning on doing it just yet, but I don't want to do anything until we get that trash out of there. Oh, come to Papa. Oh, thank goodness. How's it look from that side? Nice, stayed sealed up, thank goodness. If somebody had just hit that throttle, it had dumped every bit of it down into that very carbon-filled intake. The little Roachie's lived a long life. I'm gonna give it the option to live. We'll try to be nice. Go away. Take all your turds with you. See you later. Nasty little thing. There we go, a little bit better. Now let's see if we can get those plugs out. Firing order on this one is similar to GM, closer to the front cylinder head starts 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And up under these massive exhaust manifolds. These are crazy. We will be checking firing order, but I like to just mark these for ease of going back in when it's time. Laying down there. There's 1. Oh my, carbon buildup. No moisture, so that's good. That is an old set of champions. That one's oily. Probably valve stem seals on that cylinder. I need one of those fancy little things you lay on to work on stuff. All right, next one back. And when I say oil, it's not like fresh oil, obviously. A little bit of moisture. You see the spider webbing there in between, but not bad. A long time ago. And our last one there. Not too bad. No moisture. There are the 4 out of this side. Definitely needed to pull those because it definitely needs a set of spark plugs. But with that being said, there still probably is some slight moisture in there because we had the little roach nest going on, the little crazy huge roach nest in there. So let's go ahead and soak all of these down. We don't want to start turning this thing over just in case there is a little bit of moisture in there, maybe a little bit of rust on those rings. A little bit aggravating.
Oh, this is terrible.
Well, we've got our 1.25" socket on there. Fingers crossed. Oh, there she goes. Whew. That's a lot of motor. You can hear them belts were all rusted. Oh my goodness. Okay, that's rough. Well, at least we know it rocks over. We can't get a full resolution on this one. Oh, what a monster. There's a lot going on here. Now let's start figuring out if we can get some power to this starter, which is gonna be a little bit fun, but let me show you. Now, because this one has so much going on, electronic ignition and everything, steering lock, all the other gadgets and gadgets that I'd like to see what's going on. Plus, I don't want to have any kind of issues with trying to jump stuff out. I want to make the ignition switch work. Now, we don't have a key. Thankfully, these are like literally not even $10, but there's a couple different styles and we need to figure out what the right one is. And so we're gonna have to carefully drill it out. Well, to begin with, this steering wheel does need to come off. Now to do it without breaking it. Oh, that wasn't too bad. come back to me. So it's, I guess it's probably, once you tighten it down in there, it spreads. That's why it has adjustments, so you can actually tension this up if you need to at some point. Oh my goodness. I'm not sure if you can see it, but down in here, I'm pushing on. Oh, there's no way you can see it. A little clip doohickey. Go ahead, see if it'll come out. Oh, beautiful. Didn't even have to drill it or turn it. With it knocked out, all the tumblers removed. Now we can temporarily crank it until we get a new one in, which was, went ahead and ordered it. This was the larger one, so it was about $23. A little bit easier than busting everything up, right? Now, before we start turning this thing over, I do want to go ahead and let's drain that oil and get a new filter on it. Not only has this thing been sitting for so many years, definitely could use some fresh oil, and it's got a really old Fram filter in there. And we know they had issues. We don't want to start building oil pressure and suck filter material up into the motor or anything. Plus, you don't know if there's sludge and stuff in there. It never hurts. Oil's inexpensive compared to an engine, so I always like to drain them. We can run it a little bit, stir everything up, we can change it again, put fresh in there. Not a big deal. Oil's cheap, motors aren't. So let's go and get fresh in there before we start turning it over. Woo-wee. Needed an oil change. Not too bad though. Nothing on the magnet. Oh boy. Oh boy. Come on, sweetheart. It's weird. Just look at that. That oil filter wasn't sitting on there right. It's like it was, look at that, it's down in the filter. I wonder if that's some of the Fram issues they were talking about. Moment of truth. Ground. Absolutely no sparkies, even though the doors are open. You ready to see what works? A lot going on with this car. The light doesn't seem to work. Absolutely nothing. Backup lights. Oh, maybe it thinks it's in reverse. Checking some power supplies and everything, we've come to the realization that just nothing works on this car. Absolutely nothing. We'll figure that out at a later time. For now, let's see if we can figure out the starter, and then we'll start moving towards the ignition side of things. So hopefully it's not hard to see, but right here is our shift linkage, which is popped off. And so I rolled it into park there, because it was all the way down in like first here. And so I've got it in park now. There we go, it spins over. So it was just our neutral safety switch there. Obviously, first thought on this thing was start tracing out wiring and stuff, because most of it's ugly. With it spinning over, thinking about wiring, electronic control module, whatever that thing is, the voltage regulator have all released their magic goo. And with a lackage of magic gooage, we're probably gonna have some issues here. But for the heck of it, let's see if this thing has any fire. You don't like my magic goo term? Hey, when the magic goo comes out,
there's no magic.
There's no magic. It doesn't work anymore. It's magic free. All right, go ahead and kick this thing over for me, if you will, please. Just as I suspected. No fire. Before we just go throwing parts at this thing, although we have a pretty good idea what it is, I do want to go ahead and check voltage here at the coil just to verify. So we're grounded to the battery. We're gonna get on the hot side. Yep, 11.68. That might sound good on most everything else, but this is a low voltage system. So when you have an issue here in your electronic control module, you have a grounding issue or another issue, what it'll do is send full voltage through to it. And so we automatically know we should be around 4, 4.5, 5, 6. We don't want almost 12. Let's swap that thing out. Yikes. Sheesh. One thing you want to be sure of, they have a 4 and a 5 prong style. You want to make sure you get the one that matches whatever comes off your car. While we're going back together, we might as well throw in some dielectric grease on our terminals just to make sure everything stays nice and sealed up. And some cheap insurance. They're only $6 or $7. Might as well go ahead and do a ballast resistor. And if you know what that thing is, I need to figure out what it is, because with the magic goo released, we need to make sure it's not something important. Beautiful. Go ahead. Let's see, we're actually quite a bit lower. 1.1. Let's see what we got. Go ahead and fire it over, please. Awesome! Pop, 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 pop. That's what we want. We're gonna have to take these Dagmars off of here because I keep knocking my knees. Now, I don't know if these are called Dagmars anymore. There's a specific reason they were called that. And these aren't in the Dagmar form. I guess they're just more knee busters, little bumper pushers. I'm gonna take a peek. I don't even know if I can get down in there, but I'd like to take a peek at how the distributor cap is so we can maybe clean it up just a little bit. Ooh, my goodness. Cap's not bad. Rotor's a little crusty. That'll be good enough. Now we just want to verify 35 thousandths gap. Look at that. Perfect. The plug's in, going back on with our wires. Even though they're literally all different, they all look good enough, except that one. That one there, that doesn't look good enough. Here's some pull-offs, because obviously we will replace the wires eventually, but we want to make sure the motor runs and sounds good first before we get too crazy. With our ignition system addressed, now we can start to work on the fueling system. And I apologize, it is ridiculously windy and has been for the past few days. I don't know if there's a storm going on or what. It is it's a bit crazy, so I do apologize if there's quite a bit of wind noise in this video. Old Thermi, what are we getting into? Now correct me if I'm wrong, that's a big piece of plastic. That's a crusty carburetor. I took the bottom of the carburetor. Over. Where'd it go? Oh, it's gone. Gummit. This is the nastiest carburetor I've ever been into. And Not for the reason that you would think, obviously. Wow. Those are frozen solid. I'm gonna throw this in as a complete whole because our throttle plates are obviously just completely frozen solid. That thing is broken straight through, and had been. A little bit it was backfiring and running like crap. That's crazy. Here's just a temporary thought until we can figure out something with this and that carburetor. Maybe we can run a GM spread bore in its place. Quadrajet might just do. It's been passed around from car to car. We'll see if that Quadrajet is gonna come in for the rescue. Quadrajet on there, and we now have our fuel system in place. Of course, we're just using our boat tank with our electric fuel pump because as bad as this fuel system is, there's a lot of work to do there. Thankfully, we did have that because we're gonna have to figure out a few things with the original carburetor on this car before we can dial it in and get it back on. Maybe that'll be enough for us to try to start it. We're clearly not gonna have a charging system because there's not an alternator on this thing. Now, there was an alternator in the car over here in the floorboard. But I'm pretty sure this is for a flathead V8. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but look, that's not a Chrysler alternator at all. So we don't have one. We're just gonna run it like this. Thankfully, the power steering belt does run over everything here. Took it and held. All right, Dad, you ready?
Oh yeah.
Fingers crossed. Let's see what this thing does. All right, hold on. All right, give her a go. Sheesh! All right, cut it off. Do we have oil pressure? I know these can be somewhat finicky after an oil change. And we have a light, but it does not seem to be working. I'm gonna see if we can get an ohm reading at all. Go ahead and start it, please. Yeah, it just needs to build some oil pressure. She's a runner. Heck yeah. Thing's so quiet. Single exhaust catalytic converter, factory muffler. Look at all that rust. It is a runner. Really, really good flow. Just a few seconds ago when we first started, that was dry as a bone. We had really, really good flow. Great oil pressure. As we saw, our ohm meter sat there at 0 ohms and popped up to about 18.3, and it was rising and dropping. Looked pretty good. Just some noisy lifters. Quietening up though. It's just about cleared up, hasn't it? Just some sticky lifters. A little bit of heat and temperature into it. Definitely got some really, really leaky exhaust. I think this thing needs headers and... Wait, do that again? It just blew a big old dust cloud out. I bet that catalytic converter just completely stopped up.
Oh yeah, it's got one.
I think this thing right here needs some long tube headers and lake pipes, side pipes down the side of it. What do y'all think? Sounds great. Woo! Hey, good. Although I'd like to slap this thing in gear. This thing has nothing for brakes. I'm gonna put it in gear. Oh, we can't.
They're not connected then.
We have to get underneath it to shift it. And it has no brakes. I mean, they're frozen solid. Probably don't want to get run over. I don't know.
This is
That's the air ride pump. That's the pump for the air ride suspension. I wonder if that works. It's a it's probably leaking. Yeah, this car has factory air ride. Okay. Or air lift assist.
This is trying.
It is. That's awesome. Wow, what a cool boat. Parked in 1991. Reasons unknown, but it does run. 32 years this car has sat, forgotten, shoved up in the woods there, and it is fired back to life. Well, that 440 is a runner. Should we do more to the car? I sure think so. I think we need to dial the motor in. We need to build the brakes to get this thing driving as well. I know it's a big boat. I know it's ugly, but it's cool. But I really hope you all have enjoyed this episode. If you have, be sure to subscribe button, notification bell to keep up with our future uploads, like rescues like this, and some of the other fun ones that we do, our rebuilds, our restorations. And comment down in the bottom there. Let us know what you want to see happen with this old ride. If you have been a part of the channel, we really do appreciate it so incredibly much. All of this, having fun, rescuing these cars is all because of you. But that's gonna wrap it up. Peace out, and catch you all on the flip side.